Bullying changed me, and not in the way people would assume when they hear that. Most people think it means that it broke something, and they think you're living with years of trauma. But for me, it actually built something, a version of me that could survive what the real me couldn't. I went to one of the top public schools because the education level, at least at the time, was pretty high. And people would move to the area because the quality of the schools was so great and because it was considered diverse. Of course, nobody knows what things are really like unless they're in it themselves. But what I remember most is the racism and the bullying. Racism for me began in elementary school. And of course, like any school, you had your popular kids, the nerdy kids, the different kids. And for a number of years, everything was fine. I was having a great time in school with lots of friends. And then in about the 5th or 6th grade, we had a couple more black kids that joined the school because there were only a handful of us to begin with. I became really good friends with this one black girl that was new to the school. And then one day, a group of white kids approached me and asked me, "Are you black or are you white?" And I was shocked because it wasn't something I had thought about or ever had discussed with anyone. We never even talked about anything like that in my family, at least not while I was around, because it was just who we were. So I said, "I don't know." Totally caught off guard. And so then they said, "Well, you have to decide." And I thought about it for 2 seconds and I was like, "I'm black." And you know what they said? "Oh, well, too bad." And after that, none of them would speak to me. I wasn't invited to their parties anymore. And when I had my own birthday party, nobody showed up except for one. It was the nerdy, weird white girl that nobody wanted to talk to. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't know why it was happening. And I certainly didn't relate it to what I had told them, at least not then. But I got angry. I never talked about it with anybody in my family, but I kept it inside. And that's probably why, up into adulthood, that I never cared about celebrating my birthday. So then middle school came along, and I didn't really think too much of it anymore about that experience. I had a best friend, and we did everything together. When we weren't in school, we were talking on the phone all the time. Plus, there were a lot of kids on my block, and although some of them were a couple of years younger or a year younger, there were a lot of kids around for me to play with. I didn't have a problem with being alone. And then in the last year of middle school, a new girl moved onto my block and went to the same school. And she was just the nicest person, and we became really good friends. Now, for her age, she was very tall and very muscular. I mean, she looked like an athlete even back then. And for some reason, girls wanted to beat her up. And when I tell you that in that school, there was a fight just about every day. And there was a big group of girls that you can just go ahead and call them the fight crew. They terrorized her. And then by association, me. In my opinion, she could have easily beat them up, but that wasn't her personality to fight, so she was scared. We both became terrified of going to school every day. And my parents knew nothing about it because there was already a dysfunction going on there. So it was not something that I would even talk to them about. But we did talk to her mom. And her mom said, "Oh, now, who would want to do something like that? That's just crazy talk. You girls will be okay. You'll be just fine." Every day we braced ourselves when that last bell rang at school until one day, instead of the constant threats from the kids and the paper throwing, one of the girls approached my friend to actually fight and pushed her and knocked her down. My friend got up, hit her back, and ended up whipping her butt. And after that, everybody left her alone. And by association, me. And that was the last year of middle school. In the 10th grade, which is when high school began for us, she moved away and I was left alone and had to create a friend group all over again. And I did. I found another girl whom I thought we had a lot in common and we got pretty tight. I wasn't the kind of girl who liked to have a big friend group. I just liked to have one best friend at a time. So by that time, there was another kid from my block who was also going to the same school. And we played together on the block, but when we got to school, we had separate friend groups. Little did I know that that little girl, that little critter, she became a puppet master to the people around her in her circle, including my, at the time, best friend, and began spreading all these lies about me. So much so that I again had people, girls, wanting to fight me every day after school in the 10th grade of high school. Later on, I found out that it was all about some boy that she liked. She was angry because he liked me. I had no idea about it and hadn't even spoken to that boy. But the threats got so bad that I didn't want to go back to school at all. I mean, I was terrified again. And my parents didn't understand why my grades plummeted. And they decided, you know what, I think you need a change of scenery. And so I was shipped to South Carolina to stay with relatives. Well, I thought, okay, good. I'm gonna have a fresh start. I can make new friends. Well, turns out the girls there don't take too kindly when their boy friends are interested in another girl, especially when she's from out of town. So once again, every day I would be on the receiving end of someone wanting to fight me. I mean, my saving grace back then was that two of the ringleaders of the South Carolina fight crew, they decided to leave me alone because they had roots in New York City. So it was like, okay, you're cool, you know, we're not gonna mess with you. So great. But then there was another fight crew that wasn't so civilized. And every day they would taunt me and basically try to terrorize me. They didn't take the same bus home, thank goodness, but I still had to wait after school for the bus to show up. And they never touched me physically until one day. One of the girls, she was standing right behind me as I was walking out the school door, and she pushed me. I almost tripped and fell. I turned around and knocked the heck out of her. She never bothered me again. I don't know why it always takes bullies to be hit so hard to wake them up. Needless to say, I had a terrible year. My grades again were disgraceful because I was always living in fear. For senior year of high school, because I did so poorly and had such a bad time there, my relatives in South Carolina no longer wanted me to stay there. So I was shipped back home again. And in the 12th grade at home, I knew the ropes by then. And I just didn't have the patience for any of that childish stuff anymore. So I started hanging out with two girls who had been in my circle sort of since middle school, but we weren't really close then, but we became very close in the 12th grade. So we started hanging out all the time, basically never went to school. We spent most of our days in the village of New York City, just hanging out with punk rockers and other people who were different. So I guess I was one of the different people after all too. But I didn't care. I felt like I was finally in my element. I wasn't pretending to care about something or someone. I didn't care about what people thought of me anymore. I wasn't trying to seek approval anymore. I don't know how I ended up graduating, but I did. In college, I completely turned everything around. I was like straight A's, honor student, all that stuff. As long as I didn't have that pressure, I was able to excel. After that experience in the 12th grade, I developed a hardened exterior shell. And so much so that people called me tough girl. It didn't happen overnight. It was more like a slow construction of it. And I developed this other persona. And she was useful. She could do all the things that I couldn't. like speak up, walk into a crowded room as the center of attention, say no to people. She wasn't fake exactly, but she was functional. People always ask me, how are you able to be so direct and lead meetings and do public speaking? But it's not that it was me exactly who was able to do those things. It was an armor that worked so well because it became my default setting. But it also came with a price, because that tough girl that protected me, she also cost me my softness as a woman, being fully known and asking for help. I had to show that I didn't need help. I could do it all on my own. A lot of time passed. I've been married, 2 kids later, and I've had so many different experiences in my life where that persona has helped me tremendously. I was a broadcast news reporter, and I had to be in the front lines of gang violence, fire devastation, bombings, interviewing political leaders and their indiscretions. But I wouldn't have been able to do that at all without my persona covering. And eventually, I just became her. She didn't disappear. She didn't have to. The work that I did on myself, it wasn't about deleting her, because that tough girl, she served a purpose. She taught me how to walk into a room and not be intimidated, to speak up. She taught me how to handle things on my own. Like when I got here to Spain, there were so many things that happened and that went wrong. And like when my sink blew up and things like that, I was able to just be calm and just handle it on my own. After a while, I didn't know who I was without her. I draw on her all the time because now it's a part of my journey. It's a part of me. She's a part of me. It's the journey that God has for me. And I'm at peace with all of it. I am completely comfortable in my own skin for the first time since I made my exit. There's no more shrinking to fit in, no more appeasing other people just to keep the peace. No more feeling invisible and allowing others to diminish my power. I am a child of God and made in His image. And I know the blessings He has for me. I know that as long as I do what He wants me to do, He's going to make my path straight, because that's His promise to me. And if you've gone through anything in your 50 plus years of life that you can speak to support someone else or to be supported, come join us in the Freedom Collective, because we're waiting for you. See you in the next video.